Okay, I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. We're going to get started with Columbia County, Columbia Green, I should say. Hello, how you doing?
Hi,
I'd
thank
like to
you.
welcome everyone.
to the table if you want.
Yeah, please.
Hi.
So we have Victoria Walsh, correct? Amanda Bishop and Peter O'Hara.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you for
I'm
having
the
us.
poor substitute for Dr. Trummer.
Okay.
We just with having some medical issues.
We heard. Okay.
So first off, I just want to apologize for the lateness on the budget as I'm learning the budget cycle at Columbia Green Community College. I'd just like to let you know that next year I will be well prepared for the timelines. And actually just speaking with Mr. Keeler, I realized we could have also maybe had a little workshop before this that we could have sat down
That's
to
what
that I
we would
didn't
like.
know about, but I would love to entertain that opportunity. So absolutely, if there's things I'm doing wrong as we go along, please feel free to say anything or add any value to it as I'm working through that stuff. This kind of came, we put it in a draft form when we bring it back to the Board of Trustees. So that's what why the circle looks the way it does, because it actually says draft on it. So just to let you know that. As we go
to an automatic voice message system.
on the first page there, you're just going to see what the college budget is by funding source. Our student support has increased a little bit, and I'll get into that more when we get into the revenue side of things. The state support remains about 14% that we receive from them each year. The miscellaneous support actually is derived from the charges that are from other counties for out of residence to our school. And also, we received out of the New York State budget $175,000 out of $8 million for community colleges that Governor Hochul passed for initiatives at the college. So we'll be receiving that in this year. That was additional support. If you move on to the revenue projections page. Notes here. So the revenue projection out for the 24-25 budget year is $20,292,283. The tuition and fees have increased by 2.74%. So we were going to do a tuition increase this year. Usually we stay below the 3%, which is usually the baseline of where we go to. We also get a spreadsheet from all the community colleges and four-year institutions around to be able to base our tuition off of it. And that's pretty competitive with the market and around the same cost that they're going with. So we're looking at increase to $2,700 per year from $2,628. This adjustment, like I said, is consistent with attendance at other SUNY community colleges. And it's based on our revenue this year from our institutional research department, who met with a small committee and was able to utilize historical data and forecasting for the future to figure out where we would be as far as student population, which was actually a better way for us to decide what we should use for numbers as opposed to just trying to think of what if. The sponsor contribution is based on a 3-year rolling average. So as you see it on the papers that I had passed out, Columbia County's 3-year rolling average from the time period of the fall 2021 to fall 2023 averaged a head count of 577.67, which is equal to 52.79% of the sponsor contribution for the county. Greene County's 3-year rolling average for this time period was a head count of 516.67, equal to 47.21% of the sponsor share. So that's how you see it broken down on the sponsor share page on the next page. The charges to other counties we increased due to the prison population. We are now allowed to get certificate of residencies for them as opposed to having them in Greene County. So they will now be charged from other counties from where they reside in this year, which will actually increase that number. So I stayed a little conservative with it just to know, because they got to work out the kinks with the certificate of residency yet, but knowing that we'll be higher than what we were last year. The other revenue, as I spoke to before, was $175,000 delegated from the New York State budget of $8 million sent to community college, and they gave us that number based on what our enrollment was. So it wasn't a flat amount among all the 32 community colleges. It actually was based on enrollment. And then the appropriated fund balance is based off of 50% of the current fund balance, which as of this morning was 5.9 million, just so everybody knows what goes in our account. If you move to the fee schedule page, this just shows you that the full-time is the 2,700 per semester, which equates to $225 per credit hour.
Excuse me, just 1 second. When you said fund balance, is that deducting this out? So
Correct,
That would
so-
still leave you with deducting this
About
out?
3 million, yeah,
Okay, so it's added that 5 point something, you gotta subtract this out.
correct.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. The fee schedule stays the same for 24-25. We're gonna be taking a deeper look into the fee structure next budget cycle to align it more with industry standards. We did notice that it's been pretty stagnant at the rates that they are, and we could come up in them. And then essentially from there, we don't have to do so much of a tuition hike. It gets that embedded into the fee structure instead, so. And then if you move to the general expenditure summary on the next page. So here we have salaries have decreased about $60,000 from last year's budget. And that's just changes in, positions. We are hiring people probably at a lower rate than people who have retired over the past year and things like that. Have a shift in the demographics and that. Along with the benefits have increased $143,000 due to the increase in Medicare Part B premiums that are going to come into effect January 1st. We pay them for all of our retirees that are in a certain contract year. So if they're with us for 15 years or more from the 2014 contract, we pay for their Part B. After that, they have to pay into their own Part B. So we actually did away with that in a certain contract moving forward. So people now will not get that same benefit as those people then. So once that teeters out, you won't have any additional costs to that once that last contract with people retiring moves through the college. And we had an increase in our health insurance, which everybody knows that increases every year of 5.5%.
That's pretty low compared to what.
It did. They started at 11.5 and we were able to knock it down to 5.5 and stay with the Blue Network, which is 97.7%. Yeah.
Our broker did well to negotiate that.
Yeah. The equipment increased by 476,000. This increase is primarily due to upgrading classrooms with technology that's needed at either it's AV equipment or things that are like out of service right now or need to be upgraded because we've noticed that a lot of the classrooms need to have some upgrading done in them. And then, with the needed and the change in pedagogy and to improve student experience, we're coming from a place now where we need to just try to look a little more enticing than the high school unit, you know what I mean? So if we can just get additional resources in there and get the AV equipment updated from other things that we've had, we were going to do that this year. The contractual expenses actually decreased by 385,000, which sounds crazy, but that is primarily due to the decrease in the Campus Works contract. So the contract with Campus Works gradually decreases each year during the 5-year contract deal. So we started off at $1 million and then each year it teeters down. I want to say it goes down about like 15-20% each year. So,
And then on year 6, it goes back up.
we would have to renegotiate another contract if we were going to
But
stay with
typically,
that.
that's what you see is year 1.
Yeah.
Heavy investment in those first 2 years because of all the work you needed to do.
Mhm. And then down to your functional summary, instruction stayed relatively flat this year with the grant money we'll be receiving from SUNY and the support for strategic initiatives that we've gotten from our foundation. There was a slight increase of 40,000 to this budget line, but as you had saw that there was a revision to the budget, I took out the 1.34 million in state grants and the 673 from the foundation just because of the fact that it was offsetting our expenses at such a large amount. And that's why you saw to begin with maybe that the equipment was like over $1 million.
Yeah, that's.
Yes, it's because we're getting transformational money in from SUNY to be able to update our simulation equipment and other items in the nursing department. It's a grant specifically related to nursing. So we're going to be updating our facilities with that
So
money.
did the fundraising money that came in, did that offset some of the equipment you're saying you used or not?
The fundraising,
The foundation?
the foundation actually is supporting new initiatives, which if you want to talk about that, Victoria can talk about our future initiatives and what the foundation support has done. What's nice is now the foundation is actually aligning with the college in more of a strategic structure to give us some funds to be able to work on new initiatives, to keep enrollment up and to keep our programs going or looking for the best fit of what
Has any
programs
of
that
that
we
been
need.
used for the equipment? No.
As far as the 600, yes, some of it was used in there. Yep. Mhm.
To upgrade our center. We're starting a center for teaching and learning and innovation. So we will be kitting out some classrooms to train our faculty in new technologies, new pedagogy, to remain competitive with other local colleges so that the students that come from these counties get a competitive experience.
The public service decreased by 11,000. This is due to the number of events being hosted at the college from 2024 to 2025, from 2022 to 23-24 budget. And, but after I did the budget, we're actually going to be having Willy Wonka, if anybody would like to come and see it in October. So, Upstage Productions is going to be putting that on. So we are going to look next year into try to looking more into theater things and getting community engagement back into the community, because it is a vital, it's vital for our operation to be able to see campus and, you know, for children coming into the sector being going to college. So academic support increased by 195,000. This is primarily due to, as I said before, the support for the teachers in the classroom. And because as you see from the functional expenses down from your, sorry, let me just turn my page here. From the general expenditures and functional summary actually tailor out to the same thing. It's just breaking it down into different categories of how it falls within the institution versus how it falls in just normal operations.
Academic support, is that more salaries or?
Nope, that actually, so what it is there's like there's technology that we're going to be putting into the rooms, like I was speaking about before, that actually falls under the equipment line up here. So that was a piece of it too, but it's not salaries per se on that aspect. We did have, you know, a little bit of an increase in salaries with the adjuncts that we have, but also, you know, having adjuncts sometimes is better than having the full-time faculty, because then you get more people who are trained in their discipline to be able to train the courses that we need them to train for, as opposed to teaching outside of their discipline. So, but yeah, a piece of that is equipment in regards to the fact of updating stuff around the classrooms and things.
Supervisor Skoda has a question.
Mhm.
Brian, can you hear us?
Good afternoon. I was just wondering why we're looking at the 22-23 budget and not the 23-24 budget compared to the 24-25 proposed.
Oh, yeah, it just needs to be changed. I will change and update that and send it back out.
Okay, but those are the 23-24 numbers, just the wrong title.
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yep. Nope, you're totally correct.
It's just in that section though, the functional summary, right? Because the other
Yes.
one has 23, 24.
Yeah, the numbers are the
Okay.
same. So I mentioned.
Yeah. The numbers that are tailored on the was supposed to be the 23-24 budget, or the numbers you received last year and what the budget was. I'm just comparing it year over year. Thank you for noticing that. I will fix that and send out an updated version. Student services decreased by 156,000. This is primarily due to support for strategic initiatives from our foundation that Victoria can speak more about, to update areas and support student services, causing the decline from last year's numbers. So basically, we're receiving money from the foundation to be able to up our student services side of things. And she can speak more to that as well. Maintenance and security has remained relatively flat with a slight increase of 42,000. We had a bunch of deferred maintenance that was paid in part from the phase 4 construction last year. And in turn, we did not have to budget for certain items that we paid out of phase 4 last year into this budget year. So that is the reason for the difference. Administration increased by 266,000. 175,000 of that increase is from the money received from the state, the additional funds that is going to be used in the other revenue column that you saw on the revenue side. This increase affects the Dean of Students line in the budget that falls under the administration line, and 20K in furnishings to revitalize the area of student success as from what it is now.
So administration, that's not employees, that's.
It is employees. So what falls in what falls in all these buckets is their salaries as it breaks down in these functional expenses, and also whatever costs associated with running those departments are. So when you look at maintenance and security, it's their benefits, their payroll, plus their contractual expenses that they have as well.
So next time, maybe we could have that broken out more,
Mhm.
because this is such a general, everything's packed together, maintenance, you know.
I think it does go on to, it does in the back. As we move on, it breaks it down into what's miscellaneous, fuel, oil, electricity, all that. when we move on.
The
To the contractual
administration is in here and everything too.
Mhm.
So it shows salary increases on the back?
It shows, let's see what we got here, sorry. It shows what your employee benefit summaries consist of. It doesn't show the salary increases at all, but we did do an increase that, so as far as increases go in the state contracts that we have, or the contracts with the unions, the staff was eligible to have $1 increase per hour. And the faculty had a $1,900 returning stipend as a teacher that actually goes up to 2,000, but caps off at that. So they will not get another increase in this contract cycle. And as that works, we raise the administrators too, because they don't have a physical union. So we always go off of, is it going to be off of the faculty contract or the staff contract? And because both those numbers, when you equate it out, are the same, all administrators are getting the $2,000 bump for the year into their base salary. And then we also bumped up the part-time, and I can send you over the information on what we
Yeah,
bumped
that,
up to.
we'd
but-
like to see that.
Absolutely. Yep, I can send that over because we also bumped up the part-time staff. We noticed they weren't kosher with industry standards and we weren't really getting.
So you'll send us all over the salary bump. So of
Absolutely.
this increase on 2470, how much of that is salary increases?
Of the 2470. I think I'd have to go back and just actually,
Okay.
I can break that all out for you, what it is,
Yeah, if we
increase by
could have that,
increase.
that would be good.
No, absolutely. Yep,
Actually, a lot of these down here, you know, it's broken out. Where
Yep.
it isn't in the back, you know, it's not.
not fully yet.
Yeah.
The employee side of it and the payroll is not, but I will
Right.
definitely break that out for you and give it to you so you can see how that works out.
And the maintenance security, I don't know if that's broke out that much either exactly.
Nope, I can take care of
Yeah.
that for you as well.
From the board perspective, there are always several members on the board who vote against the salary because they are so low, especially the adjuncts.
Right.
Compared to what other four-year institutions or other community colleges are paying, we are so low below that
Yes, we
standard. So we always put in a vote of, you know,
Right.
we've got to work on this.
Right.
What is the
Because
average?
it's gonna
When you
be-
say- when you say it's low, what is the average?
Adjunct getting.
Oh, the adjunct. So, it's tiered depending on an adjunct's area of expertise, the demands of the industry, their levels of teaching, their qualifications. But the average will be 1,000 a credit hour. So one course typically is 3 credit hours. So an adjunct will receive 3,000 to teach one course in a semester. There will be variation.
There's a lot of modes.
And it is, we are low compared to, we're not the lowest, but we are lower than some of our competitors for sure. And that is on our list to address.
How much lower?
So for example, if someone is teaching in our construction tech, that is a very competitive program. It's very hard to find instructors, both full-time and adjunct, to teach construction tech. So we would give them probably the top tier of our adjunct salary, which would be 1,100 per credit hour. So for a 3-credit class, they will get $3,300. Hudson Valley, as a close competitor of ours in that field, even though they're in the SUNY system, would be $1,340 per credit hour. So there's about a $200 difference in that. Whether that would be the benchmark, I don't know if that would be right. Hudson Valley is much bigger. They have a larger annual budget. We want to take an average of similar schools and do a comparison. We haven't done that work yet, but it is planned for the next academic year. As Chairman O'Hara says, it is something that we do need to address because we are lower.
Yeah, this is about the automotive side of it.
That's
as
another
far as
great
teaching it,
example.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
And,
yeah.
you know, there's not a lot, they don't pay a lot.
No,
you know.
no.
They want real-time experience, but, you know.
Absolutely. And one of the issues we're competing with is not just the higher ed industry, college to college, but also competing with the industry.
Mhm.
So nursing is one of those examples where the industry for nurses pays way higher than we can ever compete with. So it is something we have to look at, but because we have contracts and unions, it's harder to remain as competitive as, say, a private college, which doesn't have those constraints. So it's a little nuanced, but something we certainly need to look at. Does that help?
We also would, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
We also have a very rich benefit package, I will say, do you know what I mean? That we are trying to actually sell as we hire people as well, because that actually counteracts the fact of having to give out and be more industry standard if they can see a breakdown of their benefit summary. So as we are hiring people now, we are giving them that information because honestly, they're making it on
That's
the back
important
end. That's
For
it.
them to know what they're.
Yeah, the benefits are very rich at the college. So that is another reason why we've been kind of tailored lower than other institutions, but we need to promote that when we hire people so that they can see apples to apples. Okay, if you went to a four-year institution versus Columbia Green, you might see that benefit package is better. It's more enticing to people sometimes than a dollar value as well.
Do adjuncts get the benefit package?
Mm-mm. No, they don't get.
Are you having a hard time hiring and retaining staff based on the low pay? Like, have you run into issues with staffing?
Yeah, and some positions particularly, for example, we have a position out right now for a Dean of Health Professions, because we want to expand our healthcare programming. It's a very competitive field right now, getting a doctorate prepared nurse. So, you know, we are way below the national average for that position, but we also have to be realistic. So there are ways we can work with that, but on the whole, we are lower than that in some positions.
So is this something you're analyzing now? We should expect at next year's budget time, you might be building in some pay increases for.
If we can, yeah, we are in the midst of developing an institutional sustainability plan to see if our expenses are in the right places. So do we need the sort of positions we have had for a long time, or has the market shifted to such an extent that we need to re-examine some of those positions and their salary level in order to remain competitive? Yeah, it's a really important point.
And also we're trying to figure out as well as what do we need for our departments, right? And can we're looking at, you know, job descriptions and can we align jobs together with other jobs so we are not so top heavy as we're saying administrators and staff and items like that. But as she said before, it gets kind of hard because you're dealing with the union contracts all the time. So there, you have to kind of tailor yourselves to what's in them until they open again. And I think 4 years, right? That's right. So yes, so that's where we're at as well. So, I mean, you might even see next year at budget time, there's a decrease in employees, but there might be, you know, a change in salaries is the way it would be. So we're trying to balance it off of each other because we do realize some of our departments that have become more obsolete than others need to have a shift in how many people are in those departments and things like that. So that's just fun stuff coming forward. So, and
It's
then
normal, it's normal work.
absolutely.
When's the last time you had a facility study report?
That's a good question. They are working on right now an economic impact study for us at the SUNY level, just to see what that is. They are coming around to schools. I have learned, I go to the CCBOA conference for controllers and vice presidents, that they are sending somebody around to do that exact thing. So we should be seeing it in the
Get
next
that
year.
information, that'd be
Send it on
vital
over.
piece if you're talking salaries and stuff too.
Absolutely.
You have some big.
Right.
Go now?
I don't want to interrupt the presentation, but you guys are using a significant amount of fund balance this year. Do you have a fund balance policy now that's driving? Need the same amount for 25, 26. It's gonna put you guys without much cushion for.
Yeah, and we're hoping too, because, you know, they have advocacy committees created right now on the community college level of going back to the state, because this year, actually, the four-year institutions received $165 million, and I think it was $118 million in transformational funding for their support, and community colleges are still at the 2008 levels for funding. They haven't changed our levels of funding since 2008. So as the county has picked up their support and have been so gracious on your end, unfortunately, we're still receiving 2008 levels. So that kind of makes us dig into our fund balance probably more than we want to. But what I based the fund balance off this year was just saying if we use 50% of it with the 5.9 that we have right now, of where we would be for the future. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So we do need to look at that. And that'll come out more too, as she talks about the strategic initiatives, because there are things coming forward at the college right now to move into the future of sustainability and where we're going as a college as the climate changes. So absolutely.
So
good
you're
question.
expecting greater revenues in the following year to double that much, or?
Yeah, I mean, what we want to do is actually look at our program structure, and I don't want to speak for Provost Walsh, because she'll speak about this in greater detail than me, and she's the academic side. But as we look at probably closing some programs that are obsolete now, actually, and driving the revenue into what is our, critique of what we need to provide at our school, which is nursing. Nursing is the big driver for us, so we really need to focus on what do we need to get the nursing program moving forward in 2024 and to move it forward, into the future, because they're our biggest population is the nursing students. So we're going to be looking at actually probably condensing the amount of programs that we want as well, which then would probably drive up the revenue on the fact that we're tailoring towards more what our niche is. Do you know what I mean? Is what's needed in the environment around us as we're looking at statistics of what each program runs.
So it seems like last year you used almost 3 million in fund balance, but you did recover back up to 5.96.
Absolutely.
But he's got a very good point.
Oh, it's an excellent
That-
one.
That's, you're tipping, especially now, the way economics are,
And we've tightened the belt, no overtime unless it's approved. We also don't allow, comp time, all these things, overloads for faculty, things like that, to try to tailor back our payroll expenses as well, and to really, hone in on where can we save money moving into the future.
Does the adjuncts, still, if somebody's teaching as an adjunct, their family wants to go to college, they get to go free? Is that still
Correct.
part of that adjunct?
And we
policy?
wanted to change that, but in the contracts, it states that they're allowed to go for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
So that
does
is a
make
benefit
sense.
that should be brought out with.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
know,
It's in the
because
benefit package.
that
It's
does
huge.
work, yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
So that does offset your numbers there.
Yeah, and plus we also get, a generous time off in July during the summer 1 and summer 2 semester that we, don't use our time for, and a generous time during Christmas. So I mean, we want to highlight all these things as we're, maybe we're not in the proper climate for what it is for industry standards, that we have the benefit package to support the low numbers of the payroll. So, yeah.
So you mentioned you might be downsizing some of your programs. What are those programs that you're thinking about?
So that's maybe where I'm gonna shift on over, because she's got the better highlights on the academic side and the more greater context than just the numbers. That's very interesting. So I'm gonna pass it over to Provost Walsh to.
Did you want to finish that one, the institutional services, like the bottom of the?
I can, absolutely. Go back to my page here. Yeah, it's the same deal where the institutional services have dropped on the fact that we're getting outside support as well. Which I said I could break down what actually falls into these categories that
That
we'd
would be
like to
good.
see.
Yeah,
Because you're like, what's institutional? Like, what's that made up of? As opposed to what is public service made up of? Do you know what I mean? I mean, maintenance and security is fine in administration, but as you get down into the nitty gritty, like what does institutional services? mean?
Yeah, it's like in the back page here where it's got professional expenses. I see that one from 1.7 down to 560. What is professional expenses? What is that?
Which line are you looking at?
I'm actually on the last page. page
Oh, yeah.
7.
Yep. So that's because we're actually putting a lot of stuff through the Center for Teaching and Learning as well. So it actually lowered what our professional fees would actually be going into for that. It's still a pretty big amount, because actually in the contracts, they also pass as well that they have to do professional development every year, or 6 credit hours. So we're gonna have to pay for them to go for training and things like that. But the drop in it has to do a lot with, just the fees that we were spending in general last year versus this year. I think we were actually saving some money on what they are, because you're actually putting out money there for your legal fees and your items like that. So, I think what happened was we budgeted probably too much for that, also our audit as well. So that's where that came in the decrease, but I can send you a different breakdown on that just so you can see.
Yeah, like even on the faculty and staff development, like that, I see
Absolutely.
that's gone up. reasoning of what's in that also.
Yeah, okay. No, I can absolutely send it to you. Yep. No, I'll break it out for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And just the scholarship line looks a little wonky
Mhm.
and I'm trying to figure this one out as I'm learning the reins at Columbia Green. That money there for the scholarship is actually for students who are going to college in the high school, but receive free or reduced lunch when they're in high school. We eat the cost of that and we have no way to recoup that. And I'm gonna reach out to SUNY and see if there's a way to actually do that, because I would assume with, public schools, they must recoup that somehow. Whereas we're just actually taking that as an expense, and it was way higher than the 75,000 we had budgeted for
So you're
last year.
saying when high school students take the college courses in high school, if they're eligible for free or reduced lunch, they either don't pay for those courses or they pay a reduced fee.
They don't pay for
They
it.
don't pay.
Yeah, because they're already at a third when they come in. So, yeah, they're not the full tuition.
Yeah, if we
rate
can
anyway.
get the breakdowns, like doing the service and maintenance, a lot of these numbers are thrown in here, it's hard to really know what
Mhm.
they are. I think everybody would like to see that.
Transportation's a huge increase, why, those kind.
Yeah.
For me, it's only if there's a big decrease or increase, like what's the change?
Oh, that's a good question.
Why is
Printing,
printing down 100,000?
because with our Campus Works, review of our, equipment and how we were using printing across the institution, they were able to centralize a lot of our copying and printing, which has significantly reduced, by about 90,000 at least in that
I
initiative.
think we talked about that
Yeah.
last year, wasn't there? It was, you guys were gonna implement something.
That's right. Well, that happened and it has significantly brought down our printing costs.
Mhm.
And also with the way marketing is changing, we don't have to do as much printed marketing materials because so many of the younger people access that through the digital space. So that does also impact our printing too. And we can't not do it because of the demographic of this area. People consume that media in so many different ways. But certainly for recruiting the younger students, they are consuming it much more through the digital realm. Is that?
And did you want to hear a little bit more about our strategic initiatives moving forward that kind of tailored why we took out on our budget and what the initiatives are going for as we move forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will address the question about program changes, and I don't want to name publicly specific programs yet because we're still looking at them, and we also haven't discussed that with faculty and made that public information. But generally speaking, as you know, because of the area that we live in, higher ed is facing particular challenges. We've had the closure of St. Rose very close to home in the capital region, and shifts in higher ed. So the board took a proactive step this past spring and asked us to produce a sustainability plan to look over the next couple of years how we might be able to control expenses and revitalize our institutional operations, but also to build revenue through new programs and remaining competitive, making sure our students continue to improve on their outcomes. And to your point, Sarah, at the back, we need to do both of those things to ensure we're not dipping in year on year into that fund balance. So it's really a cost versus revenue balance. So as part of that sustainability plan, we've really come up with 5 broad areas to control costs and try and boost revenue. The first one is around fiscal sustainability. So as Amanda has talked through the budget, to look at how we can control expenses, how we can improve internal controls and processes. We've already reviewed things like overtime, comp time. How are we doing things that maybe we don't need to do them any longer? We're going to review all of our existing contracts to see if they remain competitive. Many of them have not been reviewed for considerable time. We are looking at restructuring some of our large departments and doing a cost benefit analysis in every area across the campus to see if there are areas of the business that really aren't performing or need to have some kind of intervention. It is very important that we do diversify our revenue streams, and I know Chairman O'Hara has requested that we look at increasing our grant support. We we need to really invest in our grant writing capabilities to ensure we're maximizing state, federal, and private foundation monies. We probably, given our demographic and who we serve, could be attracting greater funds to support our strategy going forward. So that is something we need to address. As Amanda mentioned, the joint planning with the Columbia Green Foundation is really benefiting us. The foundation have given us over 600,000 of support this year to boost our strategic initiatives. And that joint planning is really important so that the philanthropic efforts are aligned with what we're trying to do at the college much more closely. So they have really given us a great injection of support. So that is very, very important. We also want to look closely at some departments that require a risk management strategy, so we can do more in-time intervention if we need it, and have a better understanding of how our departments are performing. The second initiative is around launching a health sciences hub. As Amanda said, nursing is a very important program for us. It's 1/5 of our total enrollment. And while there is tremendous demand for nurses in the industry, we are seeing a decline in the number of people applying to be nurses. And I think there are a number of reasons for that, COVID being one of them. The needs of students are changing, and some of the actual preparedness of students is also changing. So we're building a new pathway, for example, into our nursing program by bringing on board an LPN program. And there's tremendous demand in both counties for licensed practical nurses. And I think we would benefit tremendously from having an LPN program. So that's an example of what's in development. Also, to remain competitive, nursing is a very competitive space in higher ed. In the capital region, there are umpteen programs, and we have to ensure that our nursing program is very competitive. So where a lot of the equipment that you're seeing is to help us build a simulation suite where we can really improve the student experience and better train the nurses that are going out into the workforce. So we're really going to focus on our health professions and widening out the type of programs we offer in healthcare, both on the management side, the nursing side, and then other types of allied health. So that is something where we're trying to grow our revenue in a place where there is real demand in the healthcare setting. So the third priority is to launch a Center for Innovation, Teaching and Learning. As you know, technology is a huge part of our everyday life. We need to ensure that our faculty are appropriately trained in new technologies that our students will need as they go into the workforce. We're developing a more comprehensive approach to artificial intelligence, ensuring our students are literate in artificial intelligence as they move into the workplace. So we need to ensure that our programs, our faculty are really receiving the most up-to-date support in teaching and learning. And we currently don't have that provision at the college, but it's really critical in order to remain competitive with new programs. So that the students have the same choice that they would have if they were going outside of the area. We want to keep them within the area where we can. The fourth strategic priority is to develop an academic master plan, so reviewing the kind of programs that are performing, which are under-enrolled. We currently have 29 programs that we're looking at, either retaining, improving, or eliminating. As we look at the kind of programs that we're offering, I am concerned that we have too many students in individual studies programs, and they really need to be on more defined pathways that would be better for them as they enter the workplace. So while we are going to trim some programs, most definitely, we also need to shift those individual study students into better programs for them. So it's really a balancing act, and it's going to take us a few years to get that right. So yes, we will reduce programs, but we don't know what those are at the current time. I think it's too soon to name them. So the academic master plan is really looking at how we can save costs in our schedule. The the schedule has remained unchanged for a considerable period of time. So there are ways we can shrink that schedule down. So we're offering classes at more competitive times, increasing class sizes where we can, so we reduce the need for multiple instructors. There's lots of work that we need to do to improve those costs in our academic provision. And then finally, which is very important for the community aspect, we want to grow our non-credit programming to try and attract more adult learners to our campus. As you know, there's a shrinking demographic and an increase in the average age in these counties. But there are a lot of adults who have some college and no degree, or have never been to college at all, and maybe want career change or professional development. So we see the adult learners as a real growth opportunity for the college. We want to increase our adult learners that come to Columbia Green. Not all of them are prepared to go into a degree program from day one. So by growing our non-credit programming, allowing them to get a taste or allowing them to do a certificate or some kind of micro-credential, that's a really competitive space for us to move into. And I think it would really boost the local economy by providing training and courses that meet the needs of employers in the area and the adults who want to learn. So that is a really important growth for us moving into the future. I'm sorry that was so quick, but I know you don't have a ton of time.
Great.
But that's what we're focusing on.
Sure.
In the coming
Thank
years. Good job.
From a board perspective, I've been on it for close to 14 years. And what I've seen in the last 5 years since Carly has been on board has been such dramatic change. And that's what we're seeing. It doesn't go down well sometimes because people don't like change. But having the provost come on board, Amanda looking at the budget from a whole new perspective, we're uncovering things that have just been sliding the last, as long as I've been there. And so that's why we're encouraging, and so much of this we've been talking with the provost and the president. We're very pleased with the direction it's going. So, good.
Great. One initiative, as I said before, is healthcare. It just grows every year. We have 91 retirees currently on our health plan that we would like to transition to Medicare. So we're working on that. That would be a potential savings of $415,000 a year.
Right.
So we are looking at areas like that as well.
So if we can get a breakdown of more of this, especially aging service and maintenance, different areas here where we can just kind of go through and get an idea, that would be great for us. Any members have anything else?
I just wanted to.
DJ.
I just want to reiterate something that we talked about last budget time, and I know you guys were working on it, but our hospital here is having a hard time with nursing. You guys are beefing up your nursing program. I hope that there's some collaboration and conversations happening where they might even have some of the equipment, and you guys are so close to them that you can actually bring some of your students into the hospital where the equipment already exists and do some hands-on type training to eliminate having to kind of recreate a hospital setting. And I know they're really excited in talking to them about collaborating with you guys to have some of your nursing students kind of streamlined into their employment.
It's an excellent point. And like you say, it's a reciprocal relationship, and it's a very important one for this area because they are two huge employers. Most of our clinical experiences for our students are done at Columbia Memorial Health. There are some things in the curriculum that are required of our students that hospital doesn't have.
Okay.
So we do have to seek them in other places. The benefit of having the simulation center is that we can simulate experiences instead of having them in the hospitals, which means that we can actually increase the number of seats because the law has changed recently to allow us up to 30% of clinicals to be done in a simulated environment. Currently, we do around 5%. So there is room for us to grow and expand our nursing seats, which hopefully would help alleviate that problem in the future. The hospital, for example, would like us to do a respiratory therapy course. And for that, we would not invest in equipment at the college. We do exactly as you're suggesting, which is to go to the hospital to use the facility there. So we are in those conversations. So hopefully that reassures you that that relationship is reciprocal.
DJ?
Yeah, no, first of all, I just want to commend you on your strategic vision. I think that's going to help out a lot. But from a financial standpoint, I'm sure Meta can appreciate this. You know, your chargeback basically is number 2 in the state. Chargeback number next to the Fashion Institute, which is directly related to the amount of dollars that Columbia Green inject into your system to support it.
Right.
So anything you can do to reduce cost and help us reduce what our participation cost is will help all the way around. Some of us are old enough and have been around long enough to remember the days when you had like 2 nickels to rub together for a fund balance, and we were really wondering whether you're going to survive at all. So I'm glad to hear that you have created a fund balance, and that's good. But the concern that Supervisor Collins mentioned, it's a concern. There's no
It's very
question about it.
real, yes.
One thing we asked for the last couple of years that I think would help the committee understand, we talked about having a workshop ahead of time a little bit,
Yes.
but you always give us what the budget was last year and what the proposed budget is this year, but we never see where you are year to date, the expenses against that budget.
Mhm.
I think that would help the committee.
That's what we're talking about.
I think that it would help the committee understand.
Absolutely.
That would help.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. None of this is criticism. We're behind you.
We're happy to take it because we're so new that
We have a,
we can take it.
Ryan just
Another
got
question.
off, but Ryan had a question, so we can just answer. I said, I'm sorry if you've covered this in the beginning. How many full-time students attended Columbia Green 23 to 24 school year? And how many of said students are Columbia Green or Green residents?
I just have to get my calculator.
We got that from
Okay.
IR before.
It's
It's in the sheet,
Yeah,
yeah,
what was
yeah.
but you probably wanted to know the grand total of what our,
He
He
actually
wants a
jumped off.
percentage of the total enrollment.
He just said, how many full-time students attended Columbia Green Community College in 23 to 24 school year? And how many of said students are Columbia or Green residents?
It's in there. It's in there. You can send this.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't have that.
Yeah.
He didn't get this. It's
Oh,
here.
Great.
he had that.
So you can send that to him.
Yeah, I will.
In the nursing program and even in some of your other programs, do you track the retention, like once a
Oh,
student
yes.
gets placed, are they staying in Columbia County or are
That's
they
a
leaving?
really excellent question. And that question came up at our foundation board.
Mhm.
Because when they were looking at funding some of our health initiatives, that very question
Mhm.
came up. As part of our accreditation for nursing, we are required to look at impact and retention into the industry. So we are looking at those numbers right now to get a better sense of it. It is why investing in the technology is so critical, because we have to mirror the professional environment that students are going into, which increases their chances of retention because they're getting a more realistic sense of what it's like to work as a professional nurse long term. So yes, we do. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but we do track impact. And we're happy to, at any time, come and talk about those kinds of
Yeah.
things. Having it in
I think
advance
that's
will
not a
be
bad thing,
helpful.
so we get an idea of,
Mhm.
and even in all the different areas, when we go to motor programs and everything, those kids staying here.
Are they staying in the
Columbia
area?
County, or they're going in the health area especially, because it seems like they're always short of nurses, and I guess pay's got a lot to do.
It has a lot to do with it, and sometimes, and I'm not sure of the state of Columbia Memorial
Housing
Hospital.
That was a discussion.
Housing, yeah.
You were both stirring up, an online program. Is that stronger, same,
Sorry, the.
online?
Oh, another great question. Yes, we are looking to strengthen our online provision. COVID changed a lot of the way people consume education, for want of a better word. What we are seeing is an increase in our on-campus enrollment. A lot of younger students are wanting to come back, which is really excellent and a very good sign. But the online market, to your point, is very untapped for us. And I think we have a lot to offer.
Talked about it last year.
That's right.
Yeah, there's
Especially-
quite a bit of discussion.
Especially if you're looking into adult education, like I recently went back to school, I went to SNHU because they have a great online program, but like I couldn't come, I have 3 kids and a full-time job. I
Right,
couldn't come
and that's
attend classes.
increasingly the situation.
But at night I could write my essays or watch the videos or whatever the online.
Yes.
Which I would think the expenses are much lower too for that online.
They are.
because-
And it also, this is another reason why we want the Center for Teaching and Learning, because teaching online is very different to teaching in person. Just like teaching in the prison setting is very different to teaching in the regular classroom setting. And our instructors move in all those different spaces. Now, SNHU is very set up for the online environment.
Pretty much
So
all.
they are experts at it, and we couldn't compete with them, certainly. But we can help our own instructors to develop their online pedagogy to make those classes more effective, more available. Right now, we only have one program that is online, and that really is not sufficient for the program offerings we have. So
You could also be a lot more financially competitive for residents of the county, because I have 18 months left of credits that I needed. I had done it all back in my, early 20s.
also you transferred
But
it.
I took in
Yeah.
$20,000 in debt for 3 semesters at SNHU. So looking at your prices, anyway, something to look at.
Yes,
for-
the competitive nature of
So,
that, yes.
so I think you brought that up, which is true. It was discussed in detail that the college was gonna ramp that up. It was at least a year ago, if not 2 years ago. And I realize there's been some transition here, but why hasn't that increased, and or why hasn't there been more? effort
Well,
at that?
Yeah, I can't speak to the effort,
Yeah.
because I wasn't here, but, they have transitioned the business program into the online environment. And it isn't just the modality that has to change, it's also the semester length that has to change. And so academia moves very slowly, unfortunately, because as soon as you hit the spring break, you lose the summer, and everything has to happen in one academic year. Otherwise, you can't get it into the state in time to change your modality and register your courses in other ways. So I'm not sure it's a question of effort. I would have to look into that in a little more detail. But there's certainly potential, and I know they have moved their business program to the online space and done it in reduced semesters, which is much more appealing to the adult market, as you pointed out.
Okay.
Before we close up.
One question back there.
I don't know, but I had.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just say that first.
I mean, for a while now, and I was involved in it, we had representatives from Columbia County and representatives from Greene County meet with, staff such as yourselves, the president, probably 2 or 3 times a year, PJ, would you say? To discuss issues. Actually, we were involved with the restoration program that started, and, so it might be of value to sort of have a joint committee again to, early in the morning, have a cup of coffee and talk about programming. I think Michael was involved as well too.
That would be great.
We would absolutely welcome that, having more conversations with our sponsor counties is a great idea, just so you're in the loop of everything that's going on at the college, not just once a year.
Well, and then during the year, then we can report back to our colleagues, about what's going on.
We welcome it, yeah, absolutely, we can set that up.
Did you?
Yeah, just from a student engagement perspective, I had a small concern about increasing the student to educator ratio. I know it's a matter of streamlining and reducing staff expenses, but I use the word slippery slope, but if you pack too many kids in there, your students will become disenfranchised. I don't know if anyone's taken a 150 head microeconomics class before, but you really don't feel like you're getting that attention. But, I'd be careful about doing that. And also, as far as your 3 credit classes during your regular semesters, are a lot of them being offered like with virtual learning? Because I have a stepson that's attending SUNY Cobleskill, and a number of those courses are now virtual, and he's kind of like,
I get it, yeah, we're trying
So-
to balance that.
is that something you're integrating heavily to try to?
Yeah.
I'd be
Well,
cautious.
we're not doing it to replace, I think we're doing it to enhance.
Okay.
And what we think is more effective, is actually offering what we call the high flex modality, which is the instructor is in the classroom with the students who prefer the in-person environment, but then students who prefer to join virtually are in the same classroom space. So that gives students, like you described, who can't be in person, to be in the same classroom with the instructor while the live class is happening. Now, to teach that way is a highly skilled way to teach. Another reason why the Centre for Teaching and Learning to increase their training in those kinds of modalities. Online is not for everyone, but the virtual space is certainly not for everyone. And we acknowledge that. We have seen a real shift in student preparedness for school, particularly since the pandemic. And so a lot of students are coming with much more complex needs for learning. And so you're right, if you've got an instructor that has many students in front of them, it's not as easy to catch those students who may not be able to assist. Which is why, to Amanda's point in the budget, we've strengthened that student support. So we now pace manage a lot of our at-risk students or those falling behind with supports outside of the classroom to better track and retain them. We can talk about that in more detail if that's helpful to the committee, but then I'd be more prepared to respond with data.
Well, thank you. Okay, well, you're gonna send us some more information.
Absolutely.
We probably will have a special finance meeting before full board. And meanwhile, we get some more information, that would be great.
If there's
Thank you
anything
very
else
much.
we can do.
Good job.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Chairman Duffy, I have to go get kids, but I vote yes to every resolution.
We're almost done.
I second it. Resolution.
Good job, Jim. That was quick.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on here. Resolution number 1, Otis. Second.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 2, authorization.
Move it. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 3.
Move it.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 4. Authorization for the health
Move
department.
it. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 5, authorization.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 6, authorization for the health department to contract with CEH.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 7, authorization.
Move it. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 8, authorization for the Department of
Move it.
Human Services.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 9, authorization to contract with Astor Services, Inc.
Move it.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 10, authorization to contract with 5 individual departments.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public safety. Resolution number 11, authorization to fill 1.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 12, authorization to renew software.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 13, authorization to accept the New York State.
Right. Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 14, authorization to fill 1 emergency.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 15, authorization to accept the FV.
Move it.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 16, authorization to accept the 2024 emergency management.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 17, authorization to accept the donation.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 18, authorization to waive the facility use fees. Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. County government. Resolution number 19.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 20, authorization to fill 1 position of
Move it.
part-time.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public Works, resolution number 21, authorization to award the bid for stone.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 22, authorization to extend.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 23.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 24. Authorization to fill one full-time laborer. Grade 11A, $45,664.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 25.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 26. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 27. Motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 28. Authorization for the chairman of the board of supervisors to sign. Have a motion? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Finance, resolution number 29. Authorization to contract with Leah Group for clinical monitoring advocacy.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, PJ had a report.
Yes.
Yep, real quick.
Let me just let up PJ. Hold on one second.
I don't think we're.
Before you do that, what happened to that resolution for ILS? We not get it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do a special.
For that one funding from ILS for the extending the.
Yeah, Rob,
funds so far. It's already been approved, but we had to run through finance. The monies that we got from, the Hal Herring, was March, but obviously we weren't ready.
Right.
They extended it.
Well, Kelly never sent it to you.
No, that's the reason.
Yeah, I didn't know. I sent it to Rob, myself, and Shane Zoney and Chris Muller. And Bart
I
Rob.
still put it through or not?
Well, we have to have a special anyway, so just do it.
We can run through that.
Well, that's another, what, a few weeks?
The
Oh,
14th of August. Well, it's gotta go through full board anyway,
Yeah,
so.
before we.
Exactly.
okay, we'll do it then.
Okay.
Just a quick thing, this is just the cash flow projection. This is from our core accounts that we usually use. Like I said, it doesn't include like the road fund, the machinery fund, and some of those special funds at all. These are just our core operating accounts, working with 3+1 on our projections moving forward to the end of December. What I wanted to, explain was that precipitous drop, a year ago. The purple line represents last year. That is in December. Remember, we bought 11 Warren Street. We spent about close to $2 million in capital projects that we funded rather than bonding. And we also paid down $3.5 million in accounts payable that period of time versus a year ago. So that's the cost for that drop. But I mean, we knew that. There's no problem. We had the cash and that's what we did. So moving forward, Kelly, you might go to the next page. It's basically projecting that at the end, we're projecting at the end of December, that we should end up somewhere around $44 million, which last year you can see was 33 million. However, remember the money we spent at the end of last year, if you add that up, we would have ended up at about 40 million. So I know that sounds like a lot, but we're faced with looking at the 25 budget.
Yeah.
We may be using some of this money towards
Yeah.
that. It's early, it's only July here. But
Sales tax is turning around.
yeah, sales tax has kind of leveled off. Second quarter is just barely ahead of the second quarter last year, but it's better than 700,000 behind in the first quarter.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
So do you do that second quarter this year, or looking ahead of last year?
Yeah, about $100,000.
That's good.
Yeah.
Considering the way it was trending, yeah.
Yeah. I wish Ray was still here because one of the things that we keep track is our liquidity level, how much money we need to operate. You know, when I first came in, we needed about $11 million. We had before. So we now need about $23 million just to operate. So how quickly that changes.
It goes,
Gives you some idea. In these projections too, we also do investment outlook. So they can help us project out, what we need liquid in the immediate term versus 30 days, 60 days, 120, so on and out for 2 years. So that's kind of what we look at. And built into there is like a $7 million cushion that we use. So that obviously if things turn one way or the other, we do have that cushion. So we're trying to look at investments as we speak now, trying to tie up more money for long term because we do anticipate, again, PJ Field does not have a crystal ball, but everything looks like maybe there may be some rate decreases coming forward. So if we can tie some money up for a longer period of time at a higher rate.
You're buying short-term bonds, or what are you doing with that?
It's across the board. We're doing T-bills, we're doing bonds, we're doing a whole bunch of different things. Everything is.
Yeah, they fluctuate like.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're still looking at, I mean, we're in a good financial position. But again, like we've talked about before, we need to maintain that.
That's right.
It goes quick.
Especially this year's gonna be a good one.
Exactly.
By the way, Jim, thanks for the breakout on the sales tax, all that, where it came from. That was helpful.
Yeah, I'll keep checking that site when it updates. I'll update that.
Yeah.
We sent that to all supervisors. No,
No, you should send that out.
maybe tomorrow send it out to,
It's a nice breakout to show you where,
where we're, just whether it's gasoline or.
Construction was down the most.
Yeah. Yeah, construction
your
was over
budget
5,
report,
6 million. I think.
Is that your budget report?
No.
No, it's just a sales tax,
Just a break summary, breakout.
You got it off the controllers.
Okay. Okay. If nothing else, need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're gonna.